were sent to the world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. You are listening to Meet the Hoblet Missionaries podcast. Here we'll dive into the lives of different hoblets and their ministry journeys. I'm your host, Father Abraham Chimeson from Henry Tempier Pre-Novitiate here in San Antonio in the U.S. And please welcome my guest today, Father Bill Morell.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Happy Easter, Father. How are you?
Need to miss the shahu.
Oh, this one.
You knew I'd work it in somehow. A little solosi.
No, that's good to hear. And as you know, this podcast we talk about, your missionary journey, your vocation stories, and so today we just want to interact in those lines.
Okay.
So if people say, Bill, who is Bill?
Who is Bill? Oh, no, that's me. I grew up on the Rio Grande River south of here in what I would call Oblatelandia. There were probably 60 or 70 oblates within 50 miles of my house, and I didn't know any.
That's a big number.
But that's a big number to have missed. But I tell you, I was in grade school and wanted to play football. But in the little town where I was, it was not so small that somebody of my normal stature would make the football teams. So I found this high school seminary in San Antonio that was just my size.
Oh, my goodness.
So I went up and played 4 years of football, learned who the oblates were and learned to love them and feel at home with them and envy.
That was high school, right?
It was a high school seminary. We called it Olympic Village
Was
for
it?
good reason.
Is that St. Anthony's?
St. Anthony's, here in San Antonio on McCullough. That's correct.
Okay. So you met the Hoblets at the
Yeah, there were 18 oblates on the faculty.
running the school.
And 17 were great. One was a loser, but I didn't really relate to him.
Sometimes we get one.
We had great ones. I really admired them. I envied them. They enjoyed being with each other. Great teachers, exceptional teachers, good enough coaches to keep me on the team.
On the team, the football team.
So that's how I got to know the oblates. Yeah.
And then you applied and...
Yes, and afterwards I applied for the novitiate and did my novitiate here in Texas, also down on a ranch near Corpus Christi, near Sarita.
Okay.
A place that's now was called Leb Shomer, but that was the novitiate in those days. It was a year and a day of torture.
That's a good novitiate. That sounds like a good novitiate.
Well, actually, a year was torture, so one day wasn't bad. I struggled that year. But after that, I went to do philosophy in Mississippi and loved it and had my eyes opened to oblates from all across the country. I had been just with guys from Texas, but then California and Chicago and New York. And we had exceptional oblate teachers, some of the best teachers I've ever had.
And so from your group, Bill, how many are you still around? And what are you, if you don't mind?
Above ground.
Above ground, of course, yeah.
We have classmates underground and above ground. Let's see, still in active ministry, there are 3 of us. There is one, Ramiro Cortez, who is bedridden. The others have been taken to their reward. So in my novitiate class, there were 16. And of that group, I think we actually joined our class and another class, and I think we had 10 ordinations.
Wow.
From the 2 classes.
So this year, how many years as an oblate?
I've been an oblate 60 years.
60 years.
That's from the year I finished the novitiate and happily left that land. I left kissing the ground saying, I will never return. And I didn't.
To the novitiate house.
To the novitiate, yeah. 40 years later, I was forced to go back, and I opened the gate and I said, I am breaking a vow. But of course, I'm over that. I don't carry wounds like that. So, yeah, 60 years since I finished the novitiate. Yeah,
Okay.
been
No,
a
that's-
priest 54 years.
Okay. And you know myself, I work in formation.
Yeah.
And if I see an oblate who has been around for that long, I'd like to know what has kept you going.
Oh my goodness, my goodness! What has kept me going? I've two things. One is, I guess it's still an alive dream of oblate, zealous confreres and happiness. I'll tell you what's kept me going. I've been happy. I've been 60 years in oblate. There were, after I left the novitiate, I guess there were 10 minutes when I wasn't happy. So I used to be in formation work too.
Oh, yeah.
I used to tell seminarians, I said, you know, unhappiness is a sign that something's wrong.
Yeah.
If you are unhappy for a long time in a lot of different situations, something is very wrong.
And not just in religious life, in all the vocations.
So I mean, I can remember when I first went to Zambia, only place I ever volunteered to go, I went. And I knew it well. I'd been there 7 times on visitations. And I thought, oh, this is a piece of cake, you know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was bordering on unhappy for the first 6 months. I said, this is a real test. But still, yeah.
And apart from being in formation, going to Zambia, what other ministries have you done in the 60 years?
So once I got out of formation, let's see, I've actually been in formation work, I guess, 16, 18 years at high school, pre-novitiate.
Thank you for your contribution.
Yeah, so I've done every level except novitiate. I never was a son.
Because of the vow. You're keeping the vow.
I kept my vow. So I've done formation work at many levels for almost 2 decades. I've done administration. I was in provincial administration in 2 different provinces. And in administration at the School of Theology. I was in administration there. I was in administration and fundraising. I mean, listen, I've been in administration longer than anybody I know.
Yeah.
But, you know, what's interesting, you know, I didn't join the Oblate to go into administration.
Yeah.
No, so, you know, when I was in high school, we used to have these oblates come by and tell about their missionary activities. I became an oblate to be a foreign missionary, you know, and over the years, I've worked in Brazil and in Lesotho, and South Africa, Mexico, but only Zambia was I on a long-term assignment. The others were 6 months or so.
Yeah.
So, but they're the ones that formed me as an oblate, because that's why I came to the oblates. I was inspired by seeing what these oblates were doing with their lives. But mainly I was inspired with their stories. So I didn't really know their lives that well.
Yeah.
And so I learned as an oblate, you better learn how to tell stories well.
And I know you're very good with that. You're very good with telling stories. Yeah. And apart from that, I know you were part of you said you've served in the administration, you know, as the longest part of your religious life. And you were part of the administration that made the decision to go to Zambia, where I come from.
That's
so
right.
How did you come to that?
It's I wouldn't say a comedy of errors, but most of things I get involved in are comedy of errors. But actually, I ended up as a very young oblate, maybe, I don't know how old, I guess I was 30.
You already into administration?
I was out of, because there was a battle between two candidates for this position, and I was the leftover candidate,
The
or I was
neutral.
the compromise, and so I ended up on a provincial council. Everybody on the council had been my teachers.
Oh my goodness.
It was, I thought it would be intimidating, but this has happened all the time when I was a young oblate. I went back to teach in the very place I had gone to school.
Yeah.
When I walked in the door, I was a brother. Never a question. There wasn't layers of friendship. There weren't higher and none.
Yeah.
And the same thing on council. Everybody there had taught me or had been my pastor. I was welcomed like a brother.
Like a brother.
But I was the youngest by far. And at that time, Texas was large. We had maybe 250 oblates in the Texas province.
Wow.
Including Mexico. Mexico was part
of it.
Had been a mission of, or a delegation of the Texas Oblates for probably 30 years.
Yeah.
And they were quite numerous and strong. They had a lot of, and they were actually trying to become an independent province, separate from us, kind of like the Alamo in reverse.
Yeah.
Anyway, at that time, there was a movement in parts of the oblate world to gather everybody who worked in the province together at one time. We called it a province. Let's see, I think we called it an assembly, or we had a name for it, but we invited every oblate to a meeting, first time ever. And I guess 150 or 60 showed up. And anyway, and the whole deal was, let's talk about our mission. What should we be doing? So we had what usually happens at large meetings, break up. And we ended up with 10 priorities for the Texas province, the southern province. So when we took the recommendations from this assembly
groups,
to the provincial council, and the council voted to implement the top 5. 10 would be too many priorities. So number 6 was take on a new mission.
It didn't cross over to the 5.
So it didn't make the cut, as they say in sports. So I had been the one pushing for number 6 in the assembly, because I knew Mexico was going to become independent. Here would be this giant, wealthy, powerful province with no mission. I said, this is a disgrace. Anyway, the council agreed that, okay, we'll do the top 6. So the one I was really interested in was number 6. And we had thought, since we had been working in Spanish with Mexican-American peoples, been working in Mexico, that our new mission would just go a little bit further south to Central America, Guatemala, San Salvador. We had that. So it was like a no-brainer, as they say. So we go to Rome. I was a delegate at the chapter. We go to Rome, and I was with the provincial. And he says, I just got a note from the general government. And they don't think it's a good idea that we would just do what we've already been doing. The Spanish being, we know the culture, we know the language. So they said, oh, no, if you want to be real missionaries, go to Africa. So he got out a map to find out where Africa was. And then
hopefully he didn't get the word map.
Yes. So he knew that summer I had spent the summer in Durban and Johannesburg, South Africa, giving parish missions as a young priest. So he says, Billy, you know all about Africa.
You just came from Africa.
So you come to this meeting with this guy from the Vatican because he's going to offer us some missions in Africa. You know all about it. Okay, so we go to this meeting. Here's a very heavy-set Italian Monsignor from the Vatican. It says, how's I'm going to talk to you
Mhm.
about Africa. So, okay, so he offered us 3 countries
Yeah.
to go to uh, Sudan,
Mhm.
Uganda,
Mhm.
and Zambia.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, oh my goodness. So the provincial Gus turns to me and says, well, you know about Africa. What do you think we should do? I said, Gus, Uganda, the president's a guy by the name of Idi Amin, and he eats people. I said, let's not go there.
Yeah.
I said, the other country, Sudan, but that was before there was a South Sudan.
Yeah,
So it was
yeah.
all Sudan. It was predominantly Muslim, and
Mhm.
they were killing Christians.
Yeah.
And I said, Gus, Sudan, they kill Christians. Let's not go there. He says, what's the other one? I said, it's called Zambia. I don't know where it is, but I think we ought to go there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how we got Zambia. We came back to the province. The province thought that we had drunk something improper or smoked something improper. We came back with this deal.
Ideas.
We're going to Zambia. There was an outcry that whoever had that idea,
Mhm.
but I know there was quite a bit of opposition.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we spent the next 3 years.
Mhm.
3 years trying to convince.
Back and forth.
Yeah, we went around. We find out more about Zambia. We
Mhm.
challenged the guys. This is real missionary. So, interestingly,
Mhm.
we met. The provincial council met in Mexico City.
Mhm.
And Mexico had already prepared to leave the province. It was
Mhm.
our last meeting of the council. We
With
met in
Mexico.
Mexico, and we voted to go to Zambia.
Wow.
Yeah. And we voted on who the first 5 actually would be. In the room was Paul Duffy.
Okay. It was part of the council.
Paul Duffy was he was provincial
Mhm.
treasurer. He had just finished his MBA at Notre Dame.
Mhm.
And like, I can remember it like it was yesterday. He said he wasn't crying. He was not prone to cry.
Yeah, I know Paul. Yeah.
You know, Paul. So Paul said, this is hard to believe. I became an oblate
Mhm.
in Washington, D.C.,
Mhm.
so that I could go to Africa to work. And I've tried 3 times when in the Eastern Province in Canada, he moved around trying to find a way to get to Africa. He ended up in Texas, where there was nobody had ever heard of Africa, and we worked
Yeah.
in Mexican and Mexican-American work primarily, and he went to teach at St. Anthony's, had been my teacher,
Mhm.
and he said, I would like to volunteer to be the first one assigned
To
to Zambia.
Zambia.
True story.
Yeah.
On the council was Father Jack Joyce also.
Mhm.
I mean, it was pretty. It was a pretty risky thing to assign our treasurer, who had
Yeah.
just gotten certified,
Mhm.
to leave. And the other Father Jack Joyce is there. And so we looked in at the list of people who had expressed interest in the province, and he said, I know we just lost a member of our council,
Mhm.
of Paul Duffy. He says, I'm asking you to lose a second one. I want to go to Zambia.
Zambia's where
So from that provincial council,
2 members.
we sent 2 to Africa. Pat Joyce,
Mhm.
Pat Gitson had volunteered.
Mhm.
He was teaching at St. Anthony's at the time, and Brother John.
Mhm.
And we decided at that time there would be a 5th member.
Yeah.
It would be a lay missionary. His name was Jack Morell.
Mhm.
And that was the first team.
Wow.
So this year, as you know, Zambia celebrated its 40th anniversary
Yeah.
when the oblate stepped foot. So I gave a little talk at that assembly in Zambia this January, and I said, this is not your 40th anniversary, it's your 45th.
And if we
Because
both
5 years before we came here,
we had no other discussion.
yes, we had 5 years to prepare.
Yeah.
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 Anyway, you've heard that story. That's
Mhm.
for me. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and I know there's a big celebration in August.
Yeah,
think,
I
on
guess, yeah.
24th.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for that.
Yeah,
You know,
you're
we
welcome.
products of
Yeah, yeah,
that determination.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's the spirit that was working.
yeah. That was the spirit. Now, and you know what's odd? It kind of is emblematic or a symbol of my own, maybe every oblate life. Nothing I ever planned for or sought, or with one exception, is what I ended up doing.
Yeah,
You know, but as I said, I've been happy. I can't believe it.
that's
I
the
got
most
all these
important thing.
jobs. I would have thought I got this one job at Oblate School of Theology. The provincial. I was in Zambia. The provincial calls. He says, "Would you like to go to Oblate School of Theology as president?" And I said, "Not on your life." I can't think of anything I would not want to do. I said,
Yeah.
"I'm happy here. Finally, I like it. I just terrific." And he says, "You would refuse an obedience?" I said, "What are you talking about? You asked me if I wanted to go." I said, "No, I don't want to
I
go."
don't want to go.
But I went, and I thought, this will be worse than the novitiate. But, I was there 10 years, a little less than 10 years. And I was happy. We got a lot done. We built this place. We built the library. We built MTM. We brought in the MDiv program. We doubled the enrollment. No, it was. I was ill-suited, but that's kind of the oblate way.
Yeah, that's kind of an operate
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty-
no,
pretty
thank
much.
you, thank
Yeah,
you, thank
yeah,
you, Bill,
yeah,
for your
yeah,
contribution, and thank you for your vocation.
Yeah.
Lastly, maybe just on other side, what do you do for your fun?
What do I do? What?
What do you do for fun, for relaxing? I
Oh,
know you're a very busy man.
no, well, I've always had adventuresome hobbies. There's 10 of us oblates and friends who go hiking every year in the mountains.
Oh, wow.
So I go mountain hiking for 42 years. We've hiked every year, mainly in New Mexico and Colorado, Canada. But we've hiked in El Salvador, no, in wherever it's, someplace in Central America.
Yeah.
I think I'd remember. Costa Rica. Then, anyway, I do that. When I was a young man, my hobby was caving. When I was at St. Anthony's, I used to have a caving club, and I would take the seminarians caving. Because one of the things that I've appreciated in my oblate life is to see young people become enthusiastic over anything.
Anything,
You know,
yeah.
sometimes it's in a religious setting. Most often it's just learning a new skill. I used to take kids. Oh no, that was quite a good hobby. It's a little difficult at 81.
Yeah.
But, what am I going to see?
You don't look 81.
Yeah. It's when I was a young oblate, one of my assignments to a little town called La Baeza in Mexico on high mountains. I don't think there were 100 people there.
Yeah.
And I was young, and I felt sorry for myself. I said, look at this. There's 100 people here. My Spanish is crummy. I'm here with 100 people. Like, I could be in Mexico City, or I could be
The bigger cities.
dealing with thousands of people and having more impact or whatever. Now that I'm substantially older, it's the reverse. I said, numbers are not important. No. It's depth of relationship. It's depth of experience. That one of the things that keeps me going. You asked that I do for fun. I keep a contact, a relationship with many of my former students, people I've married. A lot of priests don't have that opportunity. But I stay in touch with everybody I've married. I've married people I baptized. That's quite invigorating personally and spiritually for me. Yeah.
No, I think Michael likes hiking, so I think you have a buddy.
Is that right? Good. Okay.
All right, we've come to the end of this chat
Okay.
with Father Bill. Father Bill, Thank you for giving us this opportunity to share your vocation story.
Yeah.
Very enriching, the story about Zambia and just about you.
Thank you.
Continue being who you are. We
Mhm.
love you and we appreciate you.
As we
And on
say,
behalf of Zambia, we say
Nitu mezi sha
Shangwe.
ahula hula enesha enesha.
Wow, this has been the Hoblet podcast, and today we had an opportunity to chat with Father Bill Morell. So thank you for those who are following us. Please keep on following us on our Facebook channel, on our Instagram, and all our social medias. Enjoy and see you next time. Adios.